Hi. The difference between spirituality and religion. A lot of people are being called out on for being spiritual. Yeah, but spirituality is so vague. Religion makes more sense. What's the difference? Religion is being tribal, spirituality is being yourself. Religion is conforming to a group who believe the same thing that you do in the same way that you do. Spirituality is believing that you're not the center of the universe. There is something greater than us who can't be controlled, who can't be explained, who can't be marketed and sold to put out an agenda or to stroke your spiritual ego saying I'm that. Because I've had a lot of people even in the spirituality concept who are like, yeah, I'm psychic and I'm this and I'm that. And look, I've had an ex who was like that, who believed that she was psychic and she could make everyone bend to her will, which honestly she almost succeeded when it came to it, but that's a whole other podcast together. But spirituality and religion, no difference. Not at all. The only difference is religion has been made very tribal, while spirituality is really embracing your own unique self to the point where you do not need your environment telling you, you know, what to do or what to say because you have done that inner journey. And spirituality is necessary, regardless of what form it takes. See, spirituality is like love. We expect it to work one way or the other, but really it's a constant flux, changes of energy, emotions, vibrations that really change all the time. And I believed, just like in spirituality that and religion, that love and being in love only worked one or certain ways. And yeah, that's gonna do what it does is leave a profound effect on who you are. Experiences shape us, but is what's out there really your own personal experiences? You see, when it comes to spirituality, like people believe spirituality is only to be seeked in certain places. Why? Because they love to have like every form of product that is out there, they want to specify it. All right, they want to put it under a microscope. They want to be able to dissect it, explain it, and then verify it according to their hidden agenda as they would see fit. With spirituality, like absolute spirituality, is not only located in certain places. If anything, that Taoists, uh, monks, and really a lot of Eastern philosophies, and especially in Japan before the Shinto religion or the Shinto mythology, I would say, is that spirituality, according to those philosophies, is everywhere. Spirituality is found everywhere. You know, it is found in the trees, it is found in every object, even inanimate ones. Like, if you take a look at the Shinto mythology, their belief was that everything had a ka, everything had a spirit inside them, even in an inanimate object, because the earth is alive and everything that comes out of the earth is part of spirituality. Taoism also states that hey, spirituality is not found in only low key places. It's not found in a book. It's not found up in the sky. It's not in the ocean. It's everywhere we look. everywhere spirituality. And thinking that it's anywhere else other than everywhere around us is completely false. It goes against nature, and we are being taught to go constantly against nature, because we don't seek harmony. We all think we want harmony, but just like relationships, we really want control. And a lot of Western relationships, not just that I've been in, but also I've seen all around me, is really about dominating one another. And how it ties into religion versus spirituality is really that you don't want to seek spirituality because they really want to be a better person. They seek spirituality in a religion because in reality they can't control themselves and want to have a justification or make sense of the fact that they can't really deal with their own issues. They can't really deal with their own ways of thinking, no matter how horrible or disgusting they are. And so instead of really looking inward and really discovering that for themselves, rather than to have a book or someone else tell you how you ought or should live your life, they seek a religion, they seek a tribal group in order for them to feel superior over another group who may think differently. And that's why I showed in my last, like, we have all sorts of weird ass justifications in our mind to really justify our behavior, no matter how shitty they are. And the reason I love Taoism, and which is why really it should be incorporated into psychology in the future a lot more, is really because in Chinese philosophy, really there is no characteristic. Like, there's no character defining personality trait that exists in the Chinese philosophy. Because all they really have, and that's really all you have, is a set of behaviors that you've repeated so many times that they have become part of your ritual. They became part of a ritual. And that's not just in the things you do, because the things you do are enhanced or even promoted by your mindset. You know, your thoughts enhance your behavior. But your thoughts are coming from somewhere. And really, everything that spirituality does is to really discover, really look within and discover who you really are. I mean, most people, I think the mind really is like the mind is like a house you didn't build yourself. Like, okay, I'm here. This is a nice house, but I didn't build it. I didn't put in the furniture. So I gotta really discover how my mind works. And so you have to look around the house. First time you enter a house, right? And what do? You look around. It's the same thing with the mind. Now you want to figure out, like, how does this even remotely tie in with spirituality? Well, spirituality, in any way you may take it, really is a roadmap to help you find your furniture in the house, which is your mind. That's really all it is. And where a lot of things we go wrong, and that really has to do with what we're currently facing, is that really you can't control your mind. It goes to all sorts of places. The mind is like a child, it gets distracted very easily. And really, all it boils down to is how well do you know yourself? Or how far are you willing to go? How deep are you willing to go to get to who you really are? And you're talking to a guy who's been through depression, he's been through suicide, he's been through um, being called every label in the book when really there was nothing wrong with me. Really, my environment. Really, I was in a very disturbing environment that in order to really discover who we are, it requires introspection. It requires moving around in your inner self. And really, only spirituality can do that. And really, the only way to successfully be able to do that is to travel, is to go to other places. Because often or not, to many places I have traveled, while going into other places that were unknown to me, really I got to know myself a lot better. I got to know myself in ways that I never thought possible. And which is why I go about information. It's like, look, you can read all the books about a certain place. You can read a lot of things about a lot of people, about a lot of different places. You can look up all the podcasts you want. You can read, watch all the tutorials in the world. But it's not until you're like actually there and you feel the energy, you experience it fully, open-heartedly, is where you really find out like, whoa, this is totally not what I expected. Really, because yeah, your mind creates a certain image of yourself. And often or not, it's really not your thoughts. Often or not, it's other people's thoughts that you have absorbed, which is why I always say, like, if your mind really was a computer part, it's not the motherboard. Yes, you can put a bullet in here and I would die immediately, but the same thing could happen anywhere else in my body. Now, what I'm really saying is your mind is a processor. So you process all the things that all the other people have ever said about you, who you are, and especially with a lot of people who look like me have been told not really your narrative, but other people's narrative. And really, what it means that is if you cannot be put in a box, then you're written off. And a lot of people just simply can't handle any truth that doesn't fit the narrative that you already haven't created in your head. And again, how does this boil down to spirituality and religion? Spirituality really helps you look at the world as an individual self. Whereas in religion, it's so tribal and you get so many what you think might be like-minded people, but the reality is that really you're just in another tribal group. And yeah, sure, it might feel like a safe space for a while, but then again, look, I'm the type of person that no matter how many people I was surrounded with, I always felt alone. And being an outside of the box thinker or creative or whatever, you're always going to feel that in a certain type of way. However, when coming back to spirituality and religion, you either choose your individual authenticity or do you choose to be part of another tribal group that isn't really any different than politics, whether it be red or blue, left, right, or right, up, down. What is the difference? When it comes to vegan, vegetarian, meat eater, flexitarian. What's the difference? They're all part of a tribal group. And really, if you truly want to discover what it means to be the real you, and especially for those who've always felt different than the rest of their environment, really, you got to be fearless in saying, like, look, I don't mind being alone for the rest of my life. Because I'd rather be alone, knowing my own self-worth, knowing my own authentic individual self, knowing who I really am as opposed to what other people want me to be or want from me, into really just be you. Because there's something authentic about you that people might never discover if you stick to a very old age narrative that has been spoken about you. And I got a lot of questions from, my brothers in America, especially my African descendant brothers out there who really have those profound questions about who they are. Because, spirituality should be authentic to you. And, I always found it fascinating. And look, this is not to downplay anyone's religion. I'm just giving a honest, truthful statement on it. Like, we all contradict ourselves. Like everyone contradicts ourselves at some point in time. Like I said, especially in Western society, if you're really into a Western type of thinking and acting, you're going to contradict yourself constantly, because reality in that Western society has been so distorted that their thoughts, their words are always going to contradict their actions. You see it in love, you see it in politics, you see it in their justice system. Everything. It contradicts each other constantly. And especially with the African descendants in, America. I've always found it fascinating while they're always screaming about God, always screaming, Jesus, always screaming, praise the Lord, when really it's not your God. It's not your religion, at least not your authentic one. I mean, I was fortunate to have discovered that in a very early age, and really knowing, and I'm not saying I know everything about African mythology or African history as it is, but I do know that it's very hard for me to scream out Black Power when I go around worshiping the white man's narrative of the Bible. Or and I'm saying this again as in the 3D words, like, the white man's God, or the European version of what the Bible entails. So I always found that narratively contradicting. But again, that is because over there's been such a narrative going around about who they should be as opposed to who they actually are. And if it's not done by their politics, if it's not done by their media, it has been done so within their own group. Which is why I very early on have separated from practically all groups. Because I don't want to be told who I should be as opposed to who I am. And it doesn't matter how spiritually enlightened you are. It doesn't matter how, knowledgeable you are in your theology or your history or, any way of thinking. You can be the smartest man on the planet and still make mistakes. You can be spiritually enlightened and still get yourself fighting off the devil. Whether it be within yourself or whether it be within someone else. And usually it falls down to within yourself. Because again, a lot of the people believe that the world is bad, that the world is sin, and therefore, you should be keeping your distance from the world because the world brings suffering, the world brings evil. Really, it's our way of thinking about good and evil that really has brought a lot of suffering or a lot of good, depending on not just what you believe in, but the way you process how you believe. And again, this comes to the mind, where like you can process any type of given information and really find yourselves all sorts of ways to justify doing horrible shit or doing great shit, But even though my mind went as dark as it always went, I chose better. Not every time, but always strived to choose better. And even though, they teach you to help yourself and, help your brothers, help the environment you're in, unless we can really do that for ourselves, we can't really expect to do that for others, right? And if you want to do that for other people, you should be able to do that for yourself first. But the way that religion is processing that, and even how a Western mind processes spirituality, that'll be another video altogether. But I've seen a lot of Western minds getting into Eastern philosophy and twisting that also, not only within themselves, but also within others. That's why I always love quoting Carl Gustav Jung when he said, beware of wisdom you did not earn. Beware of knowledge you did not earn. Because it'll twist you up left and right, all sorts of reasons. If your intent isn't pure, if your intent isn't sound. And sometimes it's really not because the intent isn't pure or the intent isn't sound. It's because you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. That's not because there's anyone to blame for it, because, until you really discover what works for you, you have to be able to try at least a little bit of everything, right? And I really went through that with spirituality and my own reason, because I knew religion wasn't going to help me. Religion was going to sandbox me again into thinking very limitedly. And I always detested thinking very limitlessly. I always detested thinking in a very limited way. Yeah, you can tell I haven't slept in a while. And this is why I put on a face mask to make myself look pretty, because, hey. Yeah, so what your intent is behind what you do, I can't, there are certain things I can tell you, but there are certain things really one has to discover on their own. And I might say a lot of stuff that people might have something to say about, whether it be good or bad. But really, a lot of people can't handle the truth, because really they can't process any truth that isn't in their own personal narrative or agenda. And really, I have no agenda, because I have nothing to lose. I always wondered, like what are the worst things? What is the worst? Having everything to lose or having nothing left to live for? Having everything to lose or have nothing to live for? Which one would you think is the worst? That's a very good question to close this off, and, have an answer put there in the comment section, like, hey, well, what do you think? I'm always interested to know about the perspective. Although, wait, I've shut off the comments because really, a lot of people have not so nice things to say anymore, especially in this day and age that we're living in. However, I will be putting it in my Instagram. Just go to, just type in my first name, then 4 underscore and then EVA, and then I'll put the question up there and answer freely, you know? And yeah, hopefully this helped a lot of people, and enjoy yourself. Like, comments cost nothing. Whether I read them will be another thing, because honestly, hey, we've got better things to do with our time, right? Hey, have a good day, everyone. See you next time.